I am Nastasia Sanchez. I go by she, her, whatever. I don't care. I am a screenwriter and a film and television producer and occasional performer, but that typically only is in my car or in the shower or in the bedroom. So that just stays in those areas. Ariana, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. My name's Ariadna. I'm also equally as excited, over the moon. So I just am speechless to have you all here. And like the idea behind this was that just kind of have a few people, talk the real talk, walk the walk, do the whole thing. I have my own podcast as well through the Always Believer. My intention behind Latina, when I talked to Nastasia about this, was to make this community, brighter, stronger, rise up, basically. And yeah, add to the mix writer, coach, mentor, producer, anything else, add all of them above, entrepreneurship, and female woman power, basically, So that's me in a nutshell.
Noemi, do you want to give a little introduction for you?
Sure. My name is Noemi Samuel Rosario, and I am an immigration attorney here in Miami, Florida. I am an attorney at Americans for Immigrant Justice, so we're a nonprofit down here. And I am very happy to be here to discuss all of these issues that are so important right now and discuss my personal ideas with you guys.
Thank you. Dash and your lovely self. Queen Mother, right?
I'll start with Madrina. You
can Madrina, eso me gusta más.
Because that's what the kids are calling me now, and I'm like, damn, am I that old? Like, it's like the señorita, señora thing,
Yeah.
Like,
it's a magic touch.
When did I become señora? Like,
preach.
So I'm Dash Harris. I am in Panama right now, actually, Panama City. Natasha invited me. She's the other Queen Mother. So I am the co-founder of Afro-Latinx Travel. I'm the producer of Negro, a docuseries about Latino identity, which explores the color complex in the African diaspora in Latin America. And I also am a podcaster, like I'm sure a few people on the panel are. And the podcast is called Radio Caña Negra, porque no somos morenas, because we're not brown, we're black, we're negras. And we also conduct anti-black, or rather anti-black workshops, trainings, and coaching for individuals and entities and institutions. And it's basically to dismantle the anti-blackness that we have internalized and that we perpetuate. And so, so the immigration lawyer, I'm gonna have to holler at you after, because I'm trying to get my husband out Cuba and I'm really happy to be here and see all of y'all here.
I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you. Jess, what about you?
Oh man, I feel so underqualified.
Don't even.
I'm like, we're all like doing real things out there. My name is Jess Garcia. I'm an actor. I am now a writer, producer, hopefully soon director, boss lady. I would eventually love to have my own production company, my own studio, do all of the things. And yeah, I recently was blessed to meet these two beautiful women who are running this podcast, and I'm just so thankful to especially be more of even a listener in all of this. I know that as a non-Black Latina, I have a lot to learn, and I have a lot to share with other non-Black Latinas about inclusion and just the microaggressions we have in our own community. So I'm just very thankful to be in your presence and appreciate that you would take this time to educate us, because I know you don't have to. So just thankful to be here, really.
Thank you, Jess. Nicky, what about you? I'm going in order of my screen.
But like your order was like my order until you said Nicky. That's what I was like, okay. Hi guys, my name is Nicky Nieves, or you can call me Nicole, whichever one. I am a Paralympian, so I play sitting volleyball for Team USA. And yeah, I'm pretty much a voice for Black athletes and Afro-Latino athletes right now in this scary world, because, you know, everything's getting lit on fire. Come correct or don't come at all. So, yeah, that's me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nezza, what about you?
Ooh, what's up? Hi, I'm Nezza. Real name is Vanessa Hernandez. I'm Dominicana Colombiana. I am a professional dancer, singer, now YouTuber. It's a lot. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. And like Jess said, be, you know, also just kind of like also here to speak my truth, but also be a listener and learn from you guys. I think thank you so much, Natasha, for having me. And yeah.
Bryana.
Hi. I'm Bryana. I am Mexican American, and I am an actress. I'd like to say I'm a singer, but I haven't put out anything, so I'm not claiming that yet. But I am really excited as well because I feel like I have finally found my voice, and for the first time, this is something that like I'm truly passionate about and have taken all my time really in the last month, 2 months to really truly educate myself and do research. And I was really, really excited when you guys reached out to me to do this podcast, because not only is it an opportunity for me to share again, like my truth and what I see and what I believe, but also to learn, because like Jess was saying too, I, don't know what it's like to be Afro-Latina, to have that part of me. And so I am really excited to see, just what everyone has to say and to enlighten me. And because I believe that change comes from these conversations. So I'm really excited just to keep learning with you guys and to be surrounded by these beautiful women.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, ladies.
Liliana.
I'm Liliana Granados. I am a creative exec at Viola Davis's production company, and I'm also super excited to be here, echoing what a lot of you ladies have said. When Natasha reached out, I was immediately scared, first and foremost, and then it's like, I'm scared, but I think I should do it if there's anything I could say. I've been sharing my truth on Instagram, as a lot of us have, in the sense of getting into the dirty, nasty conversations with my family, things that I personally am ashamed of my past, of the people I love. So I don't know that I'm always 100% right. I don't think I am, but my boyfriend is half black, half white. And I was like, I don't know if I want you to listen. And he's like, no, let me listen so that I can tell you if you're wrong. So I, like all of you, am also here to learn and challenge myself, because again, they haven't been pretty conversations to put out to light, but I think that they're important ones. So I'm excited to be a part of this.
Thank you, Liliana. Hi, Ashley. You want to go next?
Hi, beautiful ladies. I just want to take a moment to just express my gratitude, honestly, to Ariana, as well as Natasha too. I am so, like, I have chills, goosebumps, call it what you want, because I am just in awe with the way that we come together. And a bit about me, I am the co-founder of Latina Watch, and previously, before that, I was the beauty digital director for Hola magazine, and before that, I was the beauty editor at Latina magazine. And one of the things that I saw consistent was that I didn't see women that looked like me. Even, whether that was going to beauty events or seeing campaigns. And, one of the biggest things that I champion behind is storytelling, and storytelling about beauty and entrepreneurship, which goes hand in hand for not only Latinas, but Black women. I think of our experiences from the salon, to actually getting our nails done, sharing our beauty secrets. And it's something so very spiritual, it's very ritual, and it makes us who we are today. And, I started Latina Watch because, to be fully transparent, I was censored to a certain degree with talking about colorism with the shade ranges. We're talking about pelo malo, and I created this to give back stories and to help our community be the storytellers in the sector of beauty. And I'm just so in awe, because I can't wait to, tell all of you ladies' stories, like, because you guys all deserve to be heard, whether that's in the beauty sector, lifestyle, wellness, politics, because I believe we all have a voice and we all have a story, and it's so important for all of us to, you know, not only educate ourselves, but to be compassionate and to hear each other's stories. So I am just so, so thankful to be a part of this moment.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Aurora? Uh-oh.
Hi.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
I have a 5-year-old, so you might hear her in the background. But mujeres, thank you so much for having me. This is amazing. Like, there's 14 of us here, all representing different stories, different experiences, and that is really who our community is. And so I'm really happy to be a part of this conversation and bringing whatever truths I have to share. Really open to listening and connecting with y'all. I'm a filmmaker, born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. My parents are migrants from Mexico. My mom is from Veracruz, which has one of the largest Afro-Mexican population in Mexico. And my dad is from Jalisco. And, you know, myself growing up, like, I felt like I was one of the few people, at least in the Bay Area, that had this awareness that there were African Mexicans because of my mom's experience and my family's experience. And even within my family, having to deal with, like, the fact that my dad didn't have that consciousness, and the racism within, you know, the anti-Blackness within my family on my dad's side, with my mom's side, and, you know, just growing up a little bit in this bubble and feeling like there was no space to have these conversations growing up, and thankful that there are more opportunities to acknowledge our communities and who's a part of our communities. And so that is a little bit about myself. Like I said, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a writer, I'm a director in the indie space, in feature film, but in the TV space now. So I'm kind of in the industry, which I never thought I would be, and really sort of trying to navigate those spaces, which is really intense. And so, you know, I feel blessed that I've been building relationships with other Black and Brown sisters mainly, and trying to create, you know, a community amongst us to look out for each other, to hold space for each other, and to build together, right? And so that's where I find myself right now. Yeah, that's me.
Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you, Aurora.
Thank you.
Chelsea.
Hey guys. I'm Chelsea Tavares. I am an actress, singer, songwriter, I guess an activist in progress. I want to be like, you know what I mean? Not yet there. I've known Nastasia since 9th grade? The 9th grade?
Girl, no, we went to Milligan together. What is wrong with you?
Girl.
Since middle school.
Okay. And so when she asked me to do this with Matt, I was just like, yeah, because I feel like there's really no divide in between like Black and Brown. And I don't understand what the difference is like some people make. I mean, we're just honestly a boat over, you know what I mean? And I'm Cape Verdean, which is African and Portuguese. It's on the northwest coast of Africa. It's 9 little islands. And yeah, I just feel like we need to all stick together and just get uncomfortable or comfortable with uncomfortable conversations. And I think that will help us grow and learn. I mean, I know my family's all mixed up. It looks from my color to dark, dark, dark to light, light, light. And nothing is better than the other. And I feel like we just all need to come together and just talk, especially with women. And even comes down to hair texture, you know what I mean? We could talk about all of that. in what's seen as beautiful. And yeah, I'm just ready to talk, and I'm happy to meet all you guys.
Thank you, Chelsea. Hi, Julissa.
Hi. Sorry, my cat is going crazy. And I was trying to get my husband to come get him. So I apologize.
You're good.
My name is Julissa Arce. I am a writer. I'm an author. My third book is coming out next year. Really excited about this next book. It's called Rejecting Assimilation. And I think it's really, I'm really excited to have this conversation because I think I'll learn a lot. And especially with writing this book about rejecting whiteness, really, in all of the ways in which as immigrants we're asked to assimilate, but are always denied belonging. And yeah, just really looking forward to this conversation and what everybody has to contribute and what we can all learn from each other. Because somebody mentioned earlier that these are the types of conversations that create progress. And I think that right now there's a lot of conversations that are happening in private. I know a lot of my friends have reached out to me to have safe, private conversations about everything that's going on, how to talk about issues affecting the Latino community without monopolizing or taking over movements that are happening in the Black community, and how the Black community and Latinos, like, we intersect because we have Afro-Latinos, but at the same time, like, what are the unique ways in which we each experience discrimination and racism, which are unique to each of us. But everybody's really afraid to have these conversations in this kind of setting because it is scary. It's scary to say the wrong thing and then like get canceled forever. And so I am excited that everyone here stepped out of that comfort zone, including myself. I mean, I'm probably going to be shaking at some points in this conversation because they're difficult to have, but I'm really thankful that each of us came here to have the conversations, and thank you to the Art2 host for holding this space.
Thank you, Julissa. Natasha, I gotta say, I grew up with the name Natasha, so every single time I say your name, I feel like I'm saying my name, but Natasha.
Literally happened all week long. Every time we were talking about the guest list, and we're like, wait, who are we talking to you about, Natasha?
I love it. Hey, name twin. Hey, ladies. You're beautiful. I'm so happy to be in community with you tonight. I am a member of Baychella, obviously, but also when I'm not doing, background dancing for Beyonce, I'm a journalist, and I consider myself a lifelong student and educator. So always learning, but always trying to teach. By day, I'm vice president of digital content at theguerrero.com, which is one of the largest Black news outlet communities. And yes, when I'm not at my day job, or actually when I'm at my day job, I still make time to do storytelling that does not, quote unquote, give people a voice, but lets people speak for themselves. And as far as my background, I'm Puerto Rican and African American. And so one of my missions in life is to, get people to stop saying Puerto Rican and Black as if there are no Black Puerto Ricans, and to center Black people when we talk about Latinidad, and not to make it as though it's an add-on or an other or some sort of special group, but that there is no Latinidad without us. And so that's the mission, and I try to do that with every story. I'm working on a documentary called Afro-LatinX Revolution Puerto Rico. So it's focused on Puerto Rico because, that's my cultural reference point. And I know that there are many other stories that are out there. So I'm happy to be a part of this.
Thank you, Natasha. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you so much for just being here and holding space for all this. We're truly grateful.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to dive in. So first of all, again, I'm going to say it like a million times over because I am a million times grateful. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time out of your schedule to have this conversation with us. 1,000% grateful and excited, for us to be able to bring these topics to the table, or actually to the Zoom table. I feel like this is such a very poignant time in our lives. And I don't know about you guys, like I can for sure keep posting content every day. I can for sure keep marching and protesting and reading every single day until I go blind. But like, I still keep asking myself, what else can I do? What else can I learn? And I feel like we do have this wonderful, wonderful, beautiful community filled with those from all walks. And I feel like because the Black community, as you guys said, or ladies said, very much exists within the Latinx community, this conversation 1,000% should be had and should be present. And so if you're here to listen or to speak or to use your platforms, thank you for being here and for being present, first and foremost. I have been personally moved by the amount of synergy and action that has been taken towards this movement. You know, we've had some success and we've had some change, and we're not done because we still have a lot more to do. But I feel like this is not just a time of action. This is also a time of listening, because we learn so much when we do. And so my question to you all is, what are some things that you have learned during this time, and what do you plan on doing with that knowledge? And you guys, feel free, you can speak or not speak, you can piggyback off of questions, you know, this is a free space.
First, go.
Yeah.
I know I'm kind of a hothead. So when I'm passionate about something, especially online or my comments and stuff like that, and I feel like the more followers that you get, you know, people just come and just, I don't know, either they troll or they just have, you know, their opinions. But I feel like when I was younger, I used to just pop, you know what I mean? Not really have the most class with it, you know what I mean? And I feel like now I'll still state my opinion and my passion and knowledge that I know, but we'll say it in a way where, you know, I have changed different minds of racist or, you know, people that were prejudiced, and I got a different response. So I feel like sometimes it's really, really hard, so hard, but to just, I'm not trying to say be calm and be like polite, but just to like keep it cordial so that they can understand. Because if you just pop off, they're just gonna be defensive and be like, oh, there's an angry Black girl, like, you know what I mean? So I guess that's what I've been learning at now. Like, I got two people too that were all lives matter, or, you know, thinking just this way, to change their mind or be like, oh, I didn't think of it like that. So I'm like, okay, cool. So that might work with some people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Back off of that, because it was very specific to something that I wanted to say as far as what have I learned, aside from just, again, all the research I've been doing. You know, I posted something because I am very passionate, and because I feel like I mentioned earlier that I finally found my voice and found that passion. I was going full force. I was just like, boom, 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 shooting everything out. And I was really angry one day. I just had a lot of fun. I posted a picture of one of my signs that says "fuck Trump," and very ignorantly posted it, and my caption was, I hope that all the Trump supporters see this and unfollow me and get offended, and because I was angry. And that was very ignorant of me. I removed it next day. I was like, this isn't what I want to do. This isn't who I am. I don't want to be closed-minded. I want to be open-minded, and I want to have these conversations. I want people, because people were challenging me in the comments, and I was getting stumped on some things. And like, I was like, this is what needs to happen. There is little to nothing that will change my opinion on how I feel about our president, but I want to have those conversations because I realize that my demographic is also very young. And I realize that I grew up very sheltered. And I realize a lot of my followers probably grow up very sheltered and don't know what they don't know. So I'm taking it upon myself to educate. And I think that something I'm learning is to have the facts and then formulate your opinion. And I want to be that for my followers. I want to be the educator so they can formulate their own opinions. And then if, you know, it's not, then yeah, I'm following me. Then we're probably not going to get along. But I want to have that discussion and be able to be open-minded overall.
I disagree.
I'm
not debating my humanity with anybody. And those people that jump in the comments that defend Trump, they're hell-bent on not understanding or acknowledging or even looking at me as human. So I'm not going to waste my time, because you can explain till you're blue in the face. We've had 500 years evidence. Why are people now awakening to that? because they had to see multiple videos of Black bodies being murdered in the streets for you to understand that this is systemic. You can fuck off. And I mean that with every ounce of disrespect in the universe. Because when I leave my house in the US, in Panama, in Colombia, in Cuba, wherever, I'm racialized as a Black body, and I am deemed as a threat. And I'm deemed as a problem to be snuffed out. And so if you have an issue with me asserting my humanity, you can go straight to hell. And the thing is, during this entire time, I didn't learn anything new, because we've been talking about this, and many of us have been talking about this forever. I'm 33 years old, and I've been talking about this for more than a decade. People have been talking about this longer than I've been alive. And we are just now seeing a 2020 revolution, which is great, but on the other hand, it's pathetic. Because y'all need videos upon videos upon videos of violence on people that look like me for you to form an opinion that my life is worth it. You can go straight to hell.
And to kind of back up what Dash was saying, you know, I work at the Garica, where we've been sounding the alarm on racism and systemic oppression. And a lot of people say you're just playing the race card. But even in the case of George Floyd, it having to be the perfect victim, right? How many Black people have already died on camera, right? Or we've seen get shot in the back, and all these terrible things happen, but people needed to see, you know, a Black person literally begging for 8 minutes, and, you know, the person on his neck, the police officer on his neck looking like he didn't care. It had to be the perfect situation for people to finally see the humanity. And so I think there's so many of us who've kind of been at this work who feel disheartened, you know, that some people are expressing optimism, and I am optimistic in a sense, but I wonder why it took so long for people to see the humanity in Black people to begin to care, right? And so I think there is a lot of catching up for people to do. And what I've learned is that people live and walk in their privilege and are comfortable in their privilege and never have to leave their privilege until they are disrupted, which goes into the protests and people not caring until property is destroyed and there's a monetary loss, that all of a sudden human life starts to matter. And I think it says a lot about our country, capitalism, the way that we think, what we value. But yeah, I'm learning that people had a privilege to not care for a really long time.
Yeah, this is Julissa Arce. I was gonna I kind of echo what everyone is saying, but I am glad that there's people like kind of a different spectrums, right? Like people who want to engage with their followers and like want to like have conversations. And maybe just because I'm older and I'm 37 and I'm tired of having these conversations, that I am kind of on that camp of when I see a comment on my Instagram, honestly, like I don't have the energy to engage, and I also don't want to leave it up there for other people to see. So I have learned to delete a lot of comments because I don't want to engage. I don't want other people to read them. You know, I think about how much we do have to justify our existence all the time. As you know, me as a Mexican woman, like I have to justify my existence in this country. When I was undocumented, everything about being okay for me to be here was about my economic output. How much value could I bring to the United States? And if it was enough, then it was okay for me to stay here. But what about everybody else that doesn't have a college degree? Like they deserve to be here too, because they're human, not because of how much they're paying in taxes or anything else. Just a really quick story, you know, as a writer, I am like all the time asked to make my stories more relevant. And I started asking the question, more relevant to whom? Right? Because the guiding star is always whiteness, and it's always white people as our audience. And so what I have learned is that, and not necessarily just in this time, but in the 5 years that I've been writing professionally, is that just as much as there are people whose minds need to change, there's also so many people who need to be encouraged and who need to know that it's okay for them to be fully themselves. And I am much more interested in using my art and my writing to make sure that people know that who they are is beautiful and perfect, and that they don't need to change anything about themselves. I'm more interested in that than writing a book to change someone's mind about whatever topic we want to discuss. So I'm glad there's a range, but I'm definitely in that camp of not anymore. Like I'm not educating people anymore. They can hopefully find the time and should find the time to go do that and like read books and watch movies and documentaries to like educate themselves.
Let me just say, like, Nez and Bri? Which one's Bri? Which one's Bri?
I'm Bri. Hi.
Right, wow.
No, you're fine. I get it.
Honestly, at this point with Trump, it's not even about politics. Because I'm not dealing with politics anymore. It's not even about that. Trump is a bad person. He's sexist. He's racist. There's nothing, you know what I mean? So I don't think you're ignorant for saying, you know, what you need to say about that. At this point, you're liking Hitler. Whoever, you know, I don't engage, so let me make this very clear. I don't engage with people talking about Trump. I will engage with people that look like they're fucking lost. You know what I mean? Like they're not hateful. They're just like, but why? I don't understand. And then, you know what I mean? I'll pick and choose who to converse with. You know what I mean? But I think you should stand, sounds good. I think you should stand your ground. You know what I mean? And being polite isn't always the right way, but it depends, like, I guess for me to choose wisely, because I pop off quick too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I guess my question would be because, and the reason, because I was like very in the same headspace, but because I recognize too, again, just because I'm only 22 and I'm on kids TV. I do kids TV.
Oh,
so
yeah. Okay,
on Netflix is literally a Disney Channel show, but on Netflix. So my following is very young. I have like 10, my demographic is like 10 to 14. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I realized, like, that's when I realized, like, okay, as much as I want to state my strong opinions, I do realize that, like, these are children who, again, might be just super sheltered and don't know what they don't know, and they look up to someone like me on, you know, and see, you know, someone representing them or something, and I want to be able to at least shed light on something that they might not be learning at home. They might not, you know, be being taught that at home.
Yeah.
If I could talk to you, if that's cool. I was on Disney I was on Liv and Maddie for 4 years, and then being on Netflix now, like, girl, I feel you, like, my fan base.
Yeah, fuck Nickelodeon. I was like, I can talk now.
Yeah. Like, I know exactly how you feel, where you feel like this responsibility to kind of be likable or to kind of appease people. But when you're fighting for what is right, you can't worry about the consequences, because for all those people that are like saying mean comments to you, you are speaking for such a huge part of your fan base who now feels justified because they saw their favorite person standing up for their very life. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, girl, you don't like this YouTuber. Like, it's literally you're standing up for people's very life. So you should never feel bad about being loud about that, about, you know, saying, you know, 4-letter words that people don't like. Like, it's time for people to pay attention, and you never have to apologize for that. But I feel you, because I'm in that situation now, but at the same time, it's like, I'm 33 too. Like, I'm not going to argue with people that are 22 years old. But as far as uplifting those who feel like they finally feel any kind of validation in themselves, it's just worth it.
And I do want to clarify, that's what's like, I do want to clarify, like, I have been very vocal on my stance. Sure.
And I'm not saying you're not. I don't want you to think
and I think that was the only post, because again, and that's where I guess my question is, and like, that's why I do love this conversation. Just like, for me, it's not that I'm not scared to take a stance. I'm not scared to post my stance. I have been posting very like educational, like really just like, here's what white privilege is, and if you don't realize this, then you're blind. You are blind, and like you need, I can't help you. But as far as, I guess I guess for me, it's just the part of the young people who don't know, because that is my fan, and I know that's like, because it's not about taking a stance. It's more like, how do, like, I don't know.
Do you feel like you have a responsibility? Is that what, like, that responsibility is on your shoulders?
I don't necessarily feel like it's my responsibility. I feel like I want to amplify, you know, because I have recognized something I've learned is that I have privilege. I have white pass. I literally, so many people tell me, you're Hispanic? I have no idea. I understand, and I've learned that, and so I want to amplify, and that's what I've been trying to do, is just amplify. And I guess where I'm conflicted, because I do agree with taking a stance, and I guess I'm just conflicted on the part of like, what do you do when, I mean, they're kids on at least on my personal, you know, I realize everybody's different, has different fan bases and followings and everything, but I have kids following me, and so I don't know. I feel like I want to, yeah. Well, not how vulgar. Just if if their families aren't teaching them that, if their families aren't telling them what right privilege is, if their family isn't telling them what's going on.
Yeah. I think I have a response for you. And I say that because, so I'm in the world of USA Volleyball, where volleyball has become a country club, and if you're not making so much money, you can't play club. In turn, if you don't play club, you're not getting looked at from these D1 schools. It's this whole system, right? And the demographic for people that follow USA Volleyball and that follow the athletes outside, like their personal pages, are the same. So they're like 10, they maybe start at like 10, and then maybe like 15 is like the big range, I want to say. Of course, you still have people that are like older, because USA Volleyball is everything. It's youth, it's youth national, it's adult national. And I understand what you're saying, because for me, it was kind of both. So like you have USA Volleyball, there's only so many Black girls, and then if we split USA Volleyball, you have your indoor national team and you have your sitting national team. There's only so much on a team at a time, right? And then for me, everybody knows me as like bubbly Nicky. I'm super loud, like they love to like do interviews and stuff, and I love it because I'm just like, yeah, positivity, like I'm the screamer, like everybody knows when I'm coming on the court. But then in turn, all of this stuff happens, and I'm like, okay, so how do I go about voicing my opinion without being disrespectful? Because I realize that at the end of the day, it is still my humanity. Like Dash said, like, I'm not going to argue with you about why I deserve to have this. Like, I'm a human, you know what I mean? But then it's like, okay, but like, how do I say this so that the youth can understand and they can comprehend without even fear of retaliation? Because for us, it was the same thing. Like, we've had it within, our national governing body where it's like, you say something, you might not go to the next games. Point blank, period. And now it's like, oh, okay, well, now we want all the and I love it because now, we've even created a group with like all the Black athletes, and I'm like, oh my God, there's so many of us. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's still like, okay, how do I say this? How do I say this correctly? Because I want like all the little kids that are following me, I want them to feel like knowledge, to feel like they have a voice, to feel like they're not wrong. And I want them to see that I am representation. So regardless if you're Black, you're white, you're missing a limb like I am, I only have one hand. If you see me here, you can be here. So how does my words empower you, uplift you, gain the respect from the people who are signing my paychecks, and like still get my point across? You know what I mean? And the only thing that I can say is like, you keep using your voice. At the end of the day, not everybody's going to agree with you. Not everybody is going to think that what you're saying is right. I have to have tough conversations with my teammates. I've been on my team since 2011. Tough conversations with them about, you can't say that, like that's not okay, or no, or why did this bother you? And literally with my camera off, because I'm like, y'all, like I understand that I have to have grace for you because you're learning, but I don't want to disrespect you because I already know I have faces going on. Like, so it's like doing these little things and knowing that like, okay, I understand that this is going to be really tough, but if I don't use my voice now and I don't start now, then when? There is no other like alternative. Like, it's either we work hard and we take this now and hit the ground running, or it's just going to turn into another thing where they protested for Rodney King because they beat him and then it fizzled out. And then everybody was upset about, he was just running and they killed him, and then it kind of fizzled out. Bryana Taylor, we're fighting for George Floyd, but this poor girl got killed in her home. So it's like, at the end of the day, just know, like, if prayer is what you go to, if meditation is what you go to, whatever you go to, go humbly with your heart. You ask for your strength and you use your voice, because that's what you have.
Lily?
Yeah, I'd
Lily.
like to make...
Thank you, Nikki.
I like to make the conversation a little bit more zoomed in. I admire that, you know, a lot of you guys have this big platform, but for me personally, I have an 11-year-old brother who's adopted. He is much darker skinned, Peruvian, and then I have a 37-year-old brother who is white passing like me. So the conversations at my house have been interesting in the sense that sometimes I feel like I have to separate them. At the beginning, it was tough. I saw a post, someone said, we need to stop saying that George Floyd got killed because he was a person of color. We have to be saying that he was killed because he was Black. So when my little brother asked, why was he killed? I blurted out, because he's Black. And then he asked, am I going to be killed? So the past couple of weeks have been me trying to fight with my brother and give him facts. He's not on Instagram. He's a barber. He goes to work, comes home. He didn't know. He didn't watch the 8-minute video until his girlfriend showed him the video. So my challenge is I shouldn't have to fight him and educate him. And I've had friends say, like, he's old enough. He can do it on his own. But I do feel like I need for him to understand how the system works in order for him to vote responsibly and properly. That is my goal. You know, the barbershop that he works in used to be Black owned. I want him to understand that this country that he loves, that he's been able to, pull his bootstraps up with, like, didn't just appear here. And even though Mexico also has its racial issues, we are in this country and we cannot ignore the issues that are in our country now. So yeah, I think my question is, like, we shouldn't have to fight with these people. They're able to grab the book on their own, but I do feel like I could learn a lot about how to find a way to have enough information and patience. I don't know if I can learn patience, but so that I can reach certain people that, I'm like, he's a nice guy. He's like, yeah, like, just be mindful of your prejudices. And I don't think that that's enough, and I think it gets tricky when it gets to those certain people that we love and that are close to us. I do not feel comfortable sharing a home with someone who's not awake, and just making him realize you are not awake because you yourself are walking in privilege. So that's been my journey and frustration lately.
Educate them.
White passing or white, because that's something we address in our workshops. There are white Latinos. To me, if I saw you in the street, I would describe you as blanca. Yeah. And there's no terminology in Spanish that is white passing. We call each other negro, jabao, mulato, trigueño, no sé qué, all these different terminologies, which is one of the questions, I don't want to jump ahead, but every time someone says it, I want to scratch my own eyes out. Why? Because white passing in the context of Latin America does not exist.
Yeah.
White passing existed in the US, where it was Black people who were trying to pass as white to enter into white society to get specific benefits, right? And it was deadly if they were found out to not be white. And I'm not attacking you, and I don't want you to feel that way, but because a lot of people say it. But I tell you, we spend at least 30 minutes to 45 minutes in the beginning of our workshops for Latinos to locate themselves in whiteness. We don't say white passing in Latin America. Mm-hmm. En ningún momento, like at no point in time do we say white passing, right? And so I just want to put that on the table, because we operate from a white supremacist pathological system in Latin America. If you're blanca, even if you don't identify as blanca, please be assured that Black and Indigenous people are calling you blanca without a debate. And it's not to offend, it's a descriptor, it's always depending on the tone and context and whatnot, right?
But that's why the issues are so complex, right? Because, like, I mean, I grew up in Mexico, and when I was in Mexico, I never called myself Latina. Like, Latina was not even a term that I knew, right? And
you're not Latino until you leave your country. Yeah,
right, exactly. So this conversation is about, like, the terminology we use, like, in Latin America versus the terminology we use as Latinos in the United States. Like, it is different. right? Like, and that I think is what makes that is what makes it like so difficult to like talk about, because even how we describe ourselves, like I'll give you an example. When I was in Texas, and I grew up in Texas, I was Hispanic and I called myself Hispanic, right? Like the word Latino, I was like, I don't like it. And it wasn't until I really and then I also worked on Wall Street for 10 years. So it was like a very white male industry, right? And I had to switch all the time between who I was at home and who I was in this corporate environment, right? And like I had to assume different identities depending on what environment I was in. It wasn't until I quit Goldman and I moved to Los Angeles that I have really come to like know and appreciate and try to pull myself back together from all the things I feel like I lost over time from trying to assimilate, right? And so like now I really don't like the word Hispanic anymore. The word Hispanic to me sounds, for lack of a better term, like what white people call us. And like, I want to call myself Latina. But so my point is just that like, sometimes it's very difficult because even what we call ourselves, and like I have people who say, I have friends who say like the word Latino should just like not exist and Latinidad should not exist, and we shouldn't be like all pulled together into a group. And I'm like, well, then where do we go from there? So even just like what we call ourselves is tricky.
Yeah, I just want to add really quick. I definitely understand everyone because I'm often faced with the nadie aquí, nadie allá. And I grew up in the Bronx. I still live in the Bronx, and I champion behind that because I'm Puerto Rican and Dominican. And my mom is pretty fair skin, and my dad, very, very rich skin tone. And, my aunt was Puerto Riqueña, and she quickly, at the age of 5, 6, when my grandmother would tell me, who's Dominicana? That don't go in the sun, don't do that. My aunt would say, no. You are Afro-Latina. That is your superpower. People love your skin, and I want you to love your skin. And that was without me realizing, but her basically telling me, that is your true beauty, and I feel like I cannot argue and educate at the same time. And though I do, and I'm right now too, I am 27 years old, and I'm learning too to understand the duality that I have, because I personally do have privilege myself, but also understanding that where words are super intentional, and the power of, being very intentional and also being accountable, holding myself accountable when, I hear terms like Latinos for Black Lives Matter. And then also saying, you are just erasing me. You are erasing me. And you're also erasing people you love. And also I come from a family who is of law enforcement, and we have those very tough conversations, because I think that's the true meaning of unconditional love, is showing up for people and, saying, this is what's happening in our community, and we're both in different areas, but guess what? In order to create change, you have to know. And I have those conversations, not only in the beauty sector, but also understanding where my family is. And even now, there are just certain people in my family that, though I love, I also know that you have to want to know. And I'm not going to argue with you about why my life matters when you have coexist with me for so many years, and it takes for you to see so many people, Black people and also Black women to be hurt, for you to understand this new revolution. And this isn't something new, which is why the publications that I've worked with in the past, it was so hard for me to understand the blind and the cultural biases that coexist systemically within the editorial world. And I see now all these beauty brands, with the shut up or pull up. And I'm just so ignited because I've sat in these, meetings with different brands. I won't say which brands. And I've literally had to tell people, do you know that there are, Mexicans who are Afro-Latina? Do you know that have you been to Colombia? Do you know what's happening in Spain? Do you understand that this isn't just, happening here in the US? And if I'm having these conversations with the people that are giving these ad dollars and, believing in the power of the dollar, and, Latinas and Black women are literally the two first, highest ranking when it comes to buying beauty products, when it comes to, you know, TV, and when it comes to just purchasing in general. So I do love that, you know, now everyone is holding each other accountable, but I feel like it needs to be really brought to a next level, because we are basically buying into what, you know, someone was saying earlier, that systemic oppression, because it's also are you going to be the oppressor or the oppressor, you know, like it's just, or the oppressed. And I think that even, you know, myself, I sometimes say, okay, you know, where do I stand in this, and where are my opportunities for growth, whether it's in beauty, fashion, or travel, because we do have, you know, we do have a voice. And whether you have 5 followers or 30K followers, there is someone that you can, you know, touch, move, and inspire with your words. And I think it's so important. I've seen so many beauty brands finally be held accountable. And it gives me chills, because I'm like, finally you're throwing up campaigns, and it sucks that it had to be take this long for you to actually see, because the numbers are there, and they see the numbers, they see the purchases, which is why cookies get picked up when you purchase from, you know, some places, you know, that you're like, oh, I have to put all this information, because they're gathering all of this to market to us, yet they still have no idea. So,
you know, I like all of these points. I grew up hearing the words arregla la raza, which means fix the race. I was specifically told, and my mother is an African-American woman. My father was born and raised in Cali, Colombia. I was specifically told growing up to deny my Blackness. I was specifically told to stop telling people that I'm Black. I was specifically told to say I am Latina, I am not a Black woman. I was told not to date somebody who was darker than me. I was told not to procreate with somebody who was darker than me. It brought so much PTSD, and it wasn't until I was like, I want to say like 18 and 19, where I was the proper education was now accessible. I was able to go out and learn for myself that all of that is fucking bullshit. I'm so sorry for the cursing, but it's fucking bullshit. And it took me 20 years to stop hating myself, and I couldn't figure out why I was bad. I couldn't understand, and I'm gonna try not to get emotional, but I could not understand like why I was a bad person, or why I couldn't be lovable, or why the love that I was receiving was conditional. So I guess, I don't know if any of you have felt this growing up, but do you guys feel like some, you know, family members or friends or just anybody can be too racist that they can't unlearn racism or even self-hate?
Yeah. Natasha, I'm so like sad you felt that way, because like I felt that way too. I mean, we grew up in the Valley. Everything was like, well, we're gonna straighten our hair. We're watching like Laguna Beach and all this stuff, trying to fit in on set. I've dealt with so many freaking like just subtle racism, and I feel like that's the worst. Because on set or at work or wherever you are, you try to, especially when I was younger, you get kind of awkward and embarrassed. And I'm like, why the fuck am I embarrassed? I can make you feel so little, but it's like, you don't know what to do. You know what I mean? And I don't know, but like somebody called me a darkie on set. I was like laughed it off. So I tell you, like, oh, like I wish back then I would have said something, because I wish one of these, any white girl, anybody that puts me in an uncomfortable situation, I don't care if it's at the workplace, professional place, at home, in a grocery store, I will put you in your place. And I'll you know, try to have it, you know, classy. But even with my one of my uncles, he so we're Cape Verdean, like I said, so I'm like, I'm black, that's what it is. If you want to go deep in, I'm Cape Verdean. It's Portuguese and African. Part of my family speaks Portuguese, part of my family speaks Cape Verdean, which is it's Creole, it's Portuguese with African dialect, right? One of my uncles, he voted for Trump, so that's another conversation we had to have. And it's kind of like the same things, I forgot what somebody was saying, but I'm Portuguese and then black. It's like, why'd you have to make that the main thing? You know what I mean? And I grew up like just kind of wanting to be, for me, with my sisters, I thought I was dark. Well, I am dark, but for me, but like then I see the privilege that I have with other darker skinned girls. And I just grew up feeling like the littler nose that you have, you know what I mean? and the straighter hair or looser curl that you have. That's, you know, we see commercials, CoverGirl, you know, fucking all these commercials when you're like, oh, fuck, my hair is out of the pool like this. You know what I mean? And I'm at the sleepovers, like, I wish I could just brush my hair into silky, you know what I mean? Like, and I definitely grew up not liking everything about myself, but now I feel like who you hang around with, your different friend groups, and just loving yourself. And I like these conversations that we have now, because I'm happy to be Black. I'm so happy to be Black. I'm so happy to have my hair texture. It's so versatile, you know what I mean? And it sucks that families make you feel small, or friends, and then those uncomfortable conversations that you're not ready to have. And you do feel like shit sometimes, but it sucks. But I feel like as I'm getting older, I'm 28, and now I'm like, fuck it, I don't care if I offend you, really. Or I don't care what's on my platform. I mean, I don't care, you know, like I just don't care. And I love seeing all the Black people and Latin people and Arabs, everybody that are of color, you know what I mean, in the streets together, protesting and Black women. I love that. So it's slowly progressing. It should have been happened, but yeah.
Yeah, Natasha, it's crazy that you say that, because growing up, like, my family would always, like, they would say without saying it, but like if I was into a guy that was like darker skin, like, it was always like a weird vibe. And it wasn't until like now that I'm older, I look back, I'm like, oh, I get it. And, you know, my cousins, it's weird because like my mom, dad, sister, like, we're kind of on the lighter tone, but everyone else is like, they're Black, like, and they've, you know, they've always been treated differently. I think that's why they were always like, hey, like, because I would always say that I was Colombian first. And, you know,
that's what we were told to say.
We were told to say that. And then going off, I didn't have the strength. I let go of like my professional dance career, like as of like a year and a half now. And I didn't have the strength back then, but there's so many jobs that would straighten my hair. There were so many commercials, so many music videos that would straighten my hair. And I was like, why didn't you just book a girl with straight hair? And then it just goes back to like growing up too, like all the Pantene commercials I'd have to watch with like no one had my hair. You know, there was never a doll that looked like me. You know, so it's crazy. And now I feel like now that I also have a platform, because social media is also very new to me, like the come up of that too. So now that I have a platform, I feel like now I'm ready and have the strength to speak out, but back then I didn't have it.
And to piggyback off the set stuff, I think something too that I've come into, again, finding my voice. I truly didn't find my voice until recently. I feel like it took me realizing, first of all, that finding myself and finding that I'm gay and that I like women, it took me 22 years to realize that I finally fell into myself and was like, oh my gosh, I have something to fight for. I have something to stand up for. And I never felt that before. And I think something I face with my family now is, you know, be careful what you say, Bree. You don't want to lose any jobs. You don't want to, you know, your Netflix executives follow you. Your Disney executives follow you. Like, be careful what you say. And I was just like, I don't care, because I don't want to work with someone who has that. If you're not going to hire me because I'm outspoken and I'm speaking my truth and I'm amplifying voices of people who are oppressed right now and who have been facing this oppression for so long, I don't want to work with them. And I have experienced things on set that I wish I could go back so badly, but I didn't have a voice. I didn't know who I was. And experiencing things like on my show, they made it such a big deal that I was Mexican and that I was a leading role in a show that wasn't about a Mexican family. Like, they made that the biggest deal, but not once did we talk. Not one episode had to do with me being Mexican. Had one, like, none of that, like no representation in the one episode that it was. My character didn't know what a quinceañera was. And I felt stupid. I was like, and because our writer's room, we had one Black lady, one Hispanic. One episode about being Mexican was, I didn't know what a quinceañera was. So I was 19 having a quinceañera because I didn't have one.
So I just watched that episode and I was ridiculous. I was like, what? How does she not know? How does this character not know?
But the writers didn't say anything either. They thought it was cool.
Quinceañera.
Wait,
Like,
what do you mean? You couldn't say quinceañera? They made you say
no, I had to say quinceañera, and they dyed my hair. My hair was lighter.
Your hair was lighter. Exactly what I was gonna say.
Like, you know, these are, and I was scared. I didn't have a voice. I was like, this is what I do.
You don't want to lose your
Yeah,
job in the moment.
And which is crazy because I do all of these Latin outlets. I did Hola. I did a bunch of different things because they wanted to emphasize that, you know, they wanted to emphasize we have a lead Mexican as our actress. That's the lead of our show, and yet no representation in the show. And I'm not scared to call it out because
that's
I don't care. That's ridiculous to me that the one episode it is, I don't even know what a quinceañera is.
Yeah.
Well, as I've been like sitting here like with a little bit of like a dash what you were saying earlier about like white passing, or just like, are you just white, right? Because you're like in Mexico, or like, or in Mexico because that's where I'm from, like you would just be white, right? You wouldn't be like white passing. But I think like as I've been sitting here thinking about it and like listening to these conversations about what's beautiful, for me, the thing that it was always told to me is like, pareces India, right? Like you look indigenous. And it was like, if I had my hair parted down the middle, then it was like, don't wear your hair like that porque pareces India. Or like if my Spanish wasn't as like clean and nice, it would be like, estás hablando como una India. Like you're not speaking like perfect, beautiful Spanish, right? Without understanding, like, first of all, Spanish is like our colonialism language, you know, like that's not even like our language. But I think part of the problem though is that even if you look in like in Mexico, all the telenovela stars, they're all white Mexicans, right? The people we see on billboards are white Mexicans. I mean, in Univision and Telemundo, like all white Mexicans, white Latinos, white Venezuelans, that are the people that get those roles to be the Latino face or to be the Hispanic face. And I think that that's part of our problem. Is like, I almost feel like the Latino community is a little microcosm of the broader United States society, because within the Latino community, we have all the same issues that appear on the larger scale, right? Like we have racism within the Latino community. We have anti-Blackness the same way that the United States as a whole does. And so like, we've got to address those things within our community first, I think, if we're going to like make a difference in the broader society. It's sort of like making a difference within ourselves first, and demanding that within the content that we create and within the stories that we tell for the people here that are content creators, that we are also putting those voices and those faces that we want to see in sort of like out there outside of our community. Because if we don't do it, then how can we be demanding that it happens outside of us?
No, we can demand that it happens outside of us.
Right, that too. Right? That's right. You're right. Yes, yes. But I mean, like, we have to, like, you know.
I got you.
Work on ourselves.
We have to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was going to say you. Go ahead.
You have been spoken over, and I just wanted to kind of call that out, even in this dynamic. Like, I thought we were talking about like anti-Blackness, and you know, Nastasia asked for examples of what it feels like to experience that anti-Blackness. And then when we had our sister trying to talk, she didn't get a chance to like get in, and we already like moved on to the next thing. So I just want to call out our mindfulness of that, even as we are playing this out right now, as we talk about taking up space and, you know, making space for Black Latinos to share their experiences. I think it's like even happening right now.
Yes, thank you. Noemi?
Yeah, so I just wanted to add, like, going back to, I mean, I feel like I'm gonna go ahead and touch on a lot of what we've already talked, but going back to your first question of, you know, what we have learned and what are we gonna do with the knowledge, and at the same time address, you know, what it feels like growing up as a Latina and having to hear, you know, the experience the microaggressions and hear the tienes que mejorar la raza, negrita y morenita, and all of these things. So I remember, Dash, you said, you know, we've learned nothing new, and that was something that like really resonated with me, because it's unfortunate to say, but at the same time, I feel like my answer to that question is twofold. Like, we have learned nothing new in the context that, you know, unfortunately the vestiges of slavery and Jim Crow and all those things are still very much alive and well right now. But what I I guess the one thing that that I have gotten from this experience is that mobilizing, works. Speaking up works. Making people uncomfortable works. It is, change is slow, right? So we're not just going to go ahead and speak and post and overnight see all these things change. But we have to get comfortable with making people uncomfortable, especially those that are close to us. So even our loved ones. I remember, Liliana, you talked about having the conversations with your brother and, and trusting that people should be able to go and grab a book and educate themselves. But, we all have a platform. We all have a responsibility to bring those issues up and make people uncomfortable if that is what it takes. For me, in my work and what I do, I don't, for me, I guess my platform is a courtroom. It's not, it's pretty rigid, but even when I'm in there, you have to be mindful of making sure that you're highlighting client experiences with racism, specifically in my line. I'm an immigration attorney, and these are my personal views also, by the way. Ladies, I have to be the lawyer and say, these are not really the views of my organization. But we're just personally and what I've experienced is that we have to be active, and we have to take the steps, make people get comfortable with making people uncomfortable. For me, in the courtroom, sometimes with a judge that does not look like me, I have to go ahead and make sure that, I say everything that I have to say on behalf of my clients who are, immigrants, and just make sure that we speak out, and just mobilizing really does work. So in whatever way that you want to do it. And for Bree, I know that you were discussing your challenges and addressing your demographics. We have to feel the power. We have power in literally just speaking up. It feels like not much, but we have to do it whenever we can. So I guess, it's just, encouragement and so happy to hear that you all are doing, all of that, and just, hey, we're here, we're trying to all do the same thing in all of our platforms, and every single platform counts, right? It matters. So whatever your platform is, use it and just get a little bit more comfortable with making people uncomfortable.
I have a comment. I will say that now that I'm older, I realize that my first experiences with racism start with my family, when I'm small. So we're split down the middle. So I'm Puerto Rican fully, because how people are like, oh, you're Puerto Rican and what? Because you're dark. No, I'm Puerto Rican. I'm Afro Latina. Like, I'm not mixed with nothing. On my mom's side, it's all light except for 3 of us, and then on my dad's side, they all look like me except for 1. So growing up, it was always, you don't want to stay in the sun too long. My hair has been getting relaxed since I was 5, and that was normal for me until I got older, and I was like, wait,
since 5?
Girl, I went to kindergarten slaying, my edges, hello, my mom was not playing. I even have pictures, my hair was swooped and duped. She was not playing. So then, you get older, and I'm just like, well, wait a minute, wait, what? Or, my grandfather would say, because, my grandfather on my mom's side is lighter, you can't date black men and blah, blah. And I'm like, Papa, look at me, what do you mean? Your son-in-law is black, like my dad, what are you talking about? So then, you just get upset, and I want to look like my mom, because my mom's really fair skinned with real straight hair, and I don't look like her, so now I'm upset, and I'm doing a relax on my hair every month, sin falta, without missing, I'm doing it every month. And you get older, and I remember getting tired of my hair, right? So first I'm tired because now I got to defend myself. I'm not black enough for the black kids, and I'm not Spanish enough because, you know, it's Spanish. I'm not Spanish enough for the Spanish kids. So I'm in the middle. Thank God for a volleyball team, because those were my best friends, you know? But I'm like, okay, well, at some point, this has got to end, you know? And then people ask you, and they're like, well, why are you black and you Puerto Rican? And shamefully, I used to be like, oh, I'm just black by default. Like, you know, slavery happened, and that's how I got like this. But I'm not black. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm not black. I'm Puerto Rican. And then time goes on, and I'm just like, man, like, you know, I feel like the movement has kind of like boomed, because, you know, there was natural hair girls out there rocking it, looking beautiful, but it wasn't until maybe like the past 5 or 7 years that it's like cool, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, like melanin's popping, beautiful black queen, and I'm like looking at them like, dang, I want to be like them, like, oh my gosh, but that would mean that I gotta call myself black. So now I'm starting to like look into it, like, okay, like, am I black? Like, what am I? And then I'll never forget, Amara Negra, she was like, oh, Afro Latina, and I was like, what is that?
Yes.
Yes, I will give all the props to her. Because of her, I was like, oh my God, I'm Afro Latina. Like, oh my God, like, I'm a black Latina, like, I'm black. So now I'm proud, right? Now I'm telling everybody I'm from Latina. Nope, I'm Afro Latina. Like, I'm a black Latina. Like, just take me as I am. And then it came an issue with my hair, because now my hair is not growing past here, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired. So I remember talking with my mom, and I was like, you know, I think I'm going to cut it and go natural. Mind you, I'm still going back and forth, because now we go into the whole thing with texture. If you have this texture, it's prettier. If you have this texture, you might want to keep relaxing it, you know? Thankfully, I had some friends that were like, girl, just cut it all off. Just, it'll be beautiful regardless, you know? So I'm like, I think I'm going to cut it off. For what? You're not cutting your hair. You need to wait to transition a little bit more. Wait until it's down here. And I'm like, you're not the one that's dealing with my hair, though. Like, I got 2 textures. Like, it's taking me 2 hours to comb it. Like, mind you, I'm 30 now. So when I cut it, I was like 28, you know? I'm, you know, still really respectful. Well, you know, Latina's mom, I'm 28, but can I cut my hair? Like, hello. So whatever. She's like, no. So I'm like, man, all right, so I'll just wait. So I waited, and I'll never forget, my mom was in New York visiting family, and I had to like leave for volleyball, and I looked in the mirror, literally my flight's leaving in like 2 hours, and I'm like, I'm cutting it, man. So here goes me, like, with one hand, I like slather the whole entire container of conditioner on my hair so I could see like the difference between my straight hair and my curly hair. And I'm literally like, if this is my hair, I'm like, okay, all right, this is the curly hair, all right, cut. Just cutting. And I went to the airport looking like an alpaca, but I didn't care. I was happy. I was so happy. I called my niece, because me and her are close, and I'm like, girl, I did it. And I showed her, and she was like, oh my God, grandma's gonna kill you. Like, she's gonna kill you. And I was so happy. And I left, and then I came back from volleyball, and I picked my mom up from the airport. And it just all hit the fan. It's ugly. Nobody's gonna like it. When we go to church, you better wrap it up and go to church. And literally, now it's way better. But I feel like now I just realize how deeply ingrained it is in us as Latinos whenever we got colonized to assimilate and to look like them, to the point where like it's so common that they're not even realizing that they're doing it. You know what I mean? And now that I'm older, and it's like, no, I'm gonna break these generational curses. I'm not doing it, because when I have my daughter, she's gonna love her hair from day one. When you get older, if you want to relax it, you can relax it. That's on you. But I'm gonna teach you to love your skin and to love your hair, you know? And it's not even until now. It's like, what? Like, why? Like, why? What you mean? Like, it literally grows out of my head. Like, so I am less than, or I'm not gonna get a job, or I have to. I literally am fearing having my hair look out in a fro when I'm getting around my white teammates, because they might not like it, or they're not gonna think it's nice, and they're gonna make comments, and I'm gonna get angry. Like, no, like, so like even like what Julissa was saying, like we like literally like it starts with us. Like I'm fully aware, and I recognize that this is something that has been on us. Like this is just what we've learned. But now that I know, and I'm gonna school you and tell you why it's not okay, it's like I fully take responsibility to be like different, and to like tell the little girls like, no, you girl, your hair every time I see a natural hair girl, I will talk about them every single time, because I know what it feels like for people to be like, oh my God, your hair is ugly. No, you gotta straighten it. No, you too dark. You in the sun. What do you want me to do? I'm playing beach volleyball. What do you want me to do? Cover my whole body? Like, no, I can't do that. So yeah.
I have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go.
I want to add that, like, to the point of hair. I mean, I remember growing up. I'm Dominican, and I grew up in the Dominican Republic. I moved here, much later, and hair is such a big deal, for all of us, right, in our communities. But such a big deal. And I remember getting, I got a relaxer at 6. I got a relaxer at 6, and something so. To think that hair is so controversial. I mean, it's actually the subject of litigation also. The fact that we now cannot be discriminated based on how we choose to have our hair. I mean, it's just mind blowing that, we're seeing that today. We're seeing that now.
And it's our hair that is subject to litigation.
Yeah.
Because in Panama, little kids still can't go to school with their hair in locks. It was actually against the policy to go to school with your hair in braids in Panama. And so it's interesting, not interesting, but it's part and parcel of white supremacy or white supremacist pathology, that we have to prove ourselves. We're the other. The white is the standard. And so to what Nikki was saying, I was cracking up. I was But it's true. We have to understand how we internalize it, how it's internalizing within our bodies, how it shows up, and how we perpetuate it.
Wow.
I have a question, especially to my Afro-Latinas in here. Do you ever, I still feel like now, just because I unlearned everything, I'd say like 18, 19, 20, and I'm 29 now. But I still have to check myself. Like, I still have to be like, am I loving my Blackness today? Because after so long of being told not to, I still have to ask myself, am I doing this because I still hear my family's voice in the background every single time? And I vow now never to straighten my hair again. But the last time I straightened it was like a month ago. And when I did, I was like, I said to myself, I need to straighten my hair so it can look nice. As if like my own texture wasn't nice enough. And my hair texture now is horrible because of the many chemicals that I put in it. But they were beautiful curls. Like, I'm always having to check myself and be like, no, we don't do that anymore. No, we don't say that anymore. No, I'm not going to accept this type of conversation from that person. Doesn't matter if they're my family member. I'm not going to do this. Do you guys still feel like you have to check yourself?
I feel like I kind of grew out of it. Like I did the big chop, okay? I felt bald as hell. Bald and just not cute. And I was like, let me just try. Went through the little fro stage, the little auntie stage. I look like an auntie. I try to wrap it up, do something, little headbands, like anything. And I felt weird. I felt ugly. I felt not, you know what I mean? I felt like my nose looked bigger. I felt just everything. But then I just started to, okay, learn my texture and figure it out, figure the right products, you know what I mean? And to not think of, I don't know, you look on TV and you look at even music videos. Your music video girls are the light skin, green eyes, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? And I guess like I can be considered a light skin too. Like I see the colorism, you know what I mean? I'm not blind to that. But I feel like maybe not from my family, but maybe from, if I'm hanging out with like my white girl friends, you know what I mean? Like some of them, I feel like, oh, I'm the Black girl coming in. Oh, Chelsea, your hair looks like big in 70s. Like, do you need to say that all the time? Like, you know what I mean? Like, whoa, like, so it's hard, even on set, like, you know, I wear my hair natural on set now. I'm like, don't straighten it, don't touch it, let me do it. I know how to do my hair, and if you can't do that, then we can take it up with the producers or whoever. But like, I'm slowly learning to not feel comfortable looking at other girls that are fitting the European standards.
I think there's a lot to be said about hair, but you know, some of my insecurities were tied to things like dating, right? And feeling desirable as in the eyes of, you know, Latino men. And that could even go for Afro-Latino men, right? Just this idea of feeling invisible, as if people look right over you, or the microaggressions of, I grew up in a household where my mother, they lied to her and told her I would be confused if she spoke both languages. And she dealt with prejudice because she couldn't speak English well in school. So she emphasized English, right? So then when I do try to speak Spanish, people will still talk back to me in English, right? And I know that a lot of other Afro-Latinas deal with that, where you're fluent and people will still talk to you in English as if you don't know. So that made me not even want to try. It made me not even, my pride is too much that I don't need to beg you to see me as Latina. So I'm just going to be who I am, it's this sense of just not being seen or acknowledged. I think that's the thing that I struggled with. And so I too love my Blackness, Nastasia. I centered my experiences with other Afro-Latinos who always knew they were Black, who were proud from day one. We talk a lot about people who don't know and who just discover, and that is a truth. But there are people who've known, they've lived it, and they're proud, they know their history, they know their culture, you know what I mean? So I made it my mission to study that and to learn too. And that gave me more confidence to walk in my identity and to say, even if you don't see me as Latina, I know who I am. I know the blood that runs in me. And that's, Nicky, I was laughing too, hearing your story, but also my heart was breaking, right? Because you have figured out how to tell the story in a way that is funny, but that shit is mad painful. That you existing as you are, you have to justify and explain and change. That's what being Black is like, 24/7. So, yeah.
I think.
Thank you.
I think, yeah, I've outgrown it. I'm 27. I think I've outgrown it in the aspect of looks wise. I've embraced my curls. I have so many little girls that follow me that I can't tell you how many DMs I get a day of what products are you using? Can you do a curly hair routine? So I think as far as looks wise, I've learned to really love who I am looks wise. I think what I still check myself with, which is backwards, which I'll explain in a minute, but growing up, I've always been into white men. I've always only dated white men. It's just my preference, whatever. But I still to this day will have to check myself because I will always say to myself, oh, he's probably not into ethnic girls. Oh, he's probably not going to be into me. Because growing up, you see Barbie and Ken. You see the Disney princess with the white boy. And in high school, I was only into all the white boys, and they were all dating white blonde girls, right? So I think that's when, Natasha, you brought up the dating thing, and I think that's still where I have to check myself, and I think it just comes down to self-love at the end of the day, knowing that I'm the shit. And, but yeah, I still struggle in that area a little bit, which is backwards because I was in a 6-year relationship with a white guy. That ended 3 years ago. It's a different story. It's a different podcast. But yeah, that's something that I still struggle with.
That's something I struggled with too. Again, because I was told that never to date anyone who was darker than me. And then, so I figured, okay, well, I guess I'm really just only allowed to date lighter white guys. And whenever I, would even mention that I liked a Black man, or if I showed preference to it, I just remember, being told not to do that, or to shut the TV off, or to turn the picture around, or to look at something else. And it hurts. And now I'm just I can't, I don't know how the F I allowed myself to endure those types of words, but I know that I was a child and there's nothing that I can do about it. You grow up with what you grow up with. But I really do resonate with that a lot because I was told the same exact thing. Yes. I do want to, we have 30 minutes. We've been talking for so long and I want to keep going, but we have 30 minutes and I want to push into something. Ariadna, you have some questions for everyone that have to do with social media debates, correct?
I do, my darlings, I do. So recently a list of major corporations with CEOs donated to Trump's campaign have been exposed. And the response to this has been a couple of things. On one hand, we shouldn't hold the companies accountable for an act of one individual. But on the other hand, CEOs are not just any individual, they represent the company as a whole, and we need to hold them accountable. So my question for all of you beautiful ladies is, what are your thoughts? Do you favor a side?
I feel like
Yeah. So just being a beauty editor and a beauty director and seeing how much media specifically relies on the beauty industry for ad dollars, I think it's so important that we hold people accountable and CEOs. And I can think of, when I saw the list, I was not surprised because these are the same people that I've sat across from, and they have told me they're not interested in marketing with us, and they don't understand Afro-Latinas. They either just want to market to the Latin American, to your point, a lot of you ladies mentioned, telenovela, the Blanquita Latina, which is very, with white, and then they're just like, well, we're going to go to this other, sector because we understand what we're going to get here. So it's so important that we hold these people accountable, because at the end of the day, we are putting them, if we don't hold them accountable, in my personal experience, we're basically fueling the platform to keep oppressing us. So it's so important. And I'm so proud that a lot of people internally are speaking out about their experiences, because it does happen a lot more often than we realize it. So I'm on the side where we must hold them accountable, because we are literally the ones investing in these companies without us realizing how much money we're putting into this.
Thank you very much.
So the short answer, absolutely. You're the CEO of a company. The company is you. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'd like to say I completely agree. I think that they need to be held accountable. As soon as I saw the list, I
know, my favorite stores, man.
I know, I was like, damn, that sucks. I can't eat at Taco Bell anymore. No more Wendy's. I do feel very strongly in that, you are a representation of, just your company as a whole, and I just don't support that. And if you're donating to Trump, I'm sorry, but you are not going to have my business, because you're supporting someone who is, like earlier you guys were saying, is a bad person. There's just no debating that, and so I can't support that.
I just started following Diet Prada. I'm late to the. Oh, are you guys? Am I cool? Okay, well, it's called Diet Prada, and they leak out everybody. All the companies that are racist, like
Diet Prada.
Diet, yeah, DIET, and then Prada. Is it underscore PRADA or something like that? They have 2 million followers. Okay, I was like this. No anthropology. Like I'm telling you, I know. They have nickname. They call Nicks. Let me see. Sorry, my boyfriend's saying. Okay, yeah, Diet Prada. Diet underscore Prada. Boom. It has there. It's verified. Just all from small companies to big companies, I'm like, oh shit. So just from restaurants to just anthropology, I was just
heartbroken.
Just everything from, they have the employees, their emails, and like, oh wow, like that was the same with me in Canada, but like globally just talking about, they call Black people Nicks. So then they have to follow them around the store. Just little things like that we don't know. We're just like, just going to go shopping. You know what I mean? And yeah, so I definitely think I don't want to buy something. You're just over here being racist, and I'm over here wearing your clothes, posting it, feeling cute. Like, no.
Completely agree. Completely agree.
All of them.
I'm about to follow them.
Exactly. Yeah. Me too. We're definitely doing that. So following up, once again, this is definitely social media talk. What are your thoughts on the following questions, opinions that we frequently find in the comment section? So the first one is, celebrities should stay out of politics. Any takers?
Yeah.
Nikki?
I hate that. I hate celebrities should stay out of politics. Athletes shut up and dribble. I hate that, because at the end of the day, like, I'm still a person. So what? I can't talk about, my political stance. Oh, y'all want me to go out and vote, but you want me to shut up? Oh, okay.
No, I definitely agree with you, Nikki. I mean, no. So we need voices. We need voices everywhere. And going back to, like, I think what I said at some point, every platform matters, every single one, and especially for you all ladies who are more in the public light, we need these issues amplified, and we need you. we need you all. We need you all. And I feel like, yeah, it's definitely an insult to even suggest that, you know, someone should just shut up and dribble, or, you know, a celebrity's place is just, you know, in whatever it is they choose. You guys are celebrities because of what you've, you know, your talent, what you've chosen to do for a living, no? So, you know, you're still individuals with opinions. You're still individuals with ideas that need to be heard. And like I said, we need you. We need every single person on deck. And we need those voices lifted. So absolutely not.
They should speak out and open their purse too.
Yes, I was gonna say money.
And not supporting the cause. And I agree with everybody because they're people as well, you know, they're Black people as well. But some of these celebrities are plump fools. And sometimes in some context, maybe they need to shut up and open their purse, you know, because sometimes it is harmful what they're saying. But no, I completely agree. You're a human as well, and you're going through the same systems, albeit you have ascended to a level of what they may think as white acceptance, or they have transcended respectability politics, and so now they're all of a sudden out of touch. But I'm of the mind that if you have abundant resources, you need to open your purse. And yeah, sure, you can talk too, but there's people on the ground that need that support. And, you know, we're doing the groundwork, and we've been talking about this. And so, you know, again, I like multitasking.
Julissa, you were gonna say something?
Yeah,
sorry.
No, go.
Okay, I was gonna say, as Noemi pointed out, oftentimes that is used to silence the Black celebrities, right? So, you know, and I think about the elitism, right? Someone like a Cardi B, people telling her to stay out of politics, when maybe just because she speaks differently, it doesn't mean that her points are less salient, right? And they have used her influence with the Bernie Sanders campaign, and she stands on her own, and she, you know what I mean? She can speak for herself. So I think that is often targeted against celebrities of color, and I think it's racist. I agree with Dash that not all celebrities are created equal. Not everyone became famous because they're actually talented. You know, a lot of it is BS. But yes, we should absolutely hold them accountable. And as a journalist, I know the stories that get the most clicks, it's because a celebrity said something, for better or worse.
Not anyone on this panel, you know, not anyone.
I feel like with Colin Kaepernick too, like, come on, like, he did this whole thing, people were just, get the fuck out, you're done. Now the NFL looks so stupid. They're apologizing to him. They're apologizing, whether it's fake, whether it's whatever, whether it's for the people, whether it's for just, no, we stand with you. Yeah. Like, no, he looks like they look a damn fool. They look like he was this whole time, you know what I mean? And it's slowly like you said, Dash, like, it's pathetic that it's now happening, like, just so slowly. But I mean, I feel like if you have something to say, then speak up.
But it's also really insulting, you know?
Yes.
Netflix pledged $120 million to a project. They're taking this image off. They're doing this. They're firing the white actors that are voicing Black characters. That means you could have did that last year, and 5 years ago, and 10 years ago, and 20 years ago. You ignored us on purpose, as we suspected. Y'all are telling on yourselves, because now the NFL is backtracking. Does he have a job yet? Yeah. I can't eat sorry.
Yeah.
I can't pay my rent with sorry. I can't pay these bum bitches Navient with sorry. I need tangible things.
Because
I need tangible things. And so, you know, you have these news outlets now, like Telemundo, for example. They interviewed me on my docuseries. My docuseries is 9 years old. Why are y'all interviewing me now, just now? Why?
We're trending. We're trending.
We're trending, right? And so now y'all have to put attention because the revolution is happening in the U.S. And the same with Black Latin Americans who have now feel a bit more empowered to speak even more, because I don't want to erase the work, the hard work that Black Latin American activists have been doing for centuries. I mean, come on, for centuries. Las vidas negras importan, right? You have people who are going into the streets with George Floyd signs, and at the same time demanding justice for Anderson Arboleda, who was tear gassed and beat in front of his house in Colombia. And so these are intersecting in parallel, because in the same month that Breonna Taylor was murdered, João Pedro was shot in the back in his house in Brazil, a little Black Brazilian boy. And so it's all the same struggles, the same dynamics. And so when all of these companies are now saying, oh, we're gonna take off on Jemima in Colombia, we're gonna take off Beso de Negra, Negrita in Peru, Limpido, a bleach product with a Black mammy as the character. Now, you didn't do that 5 years ago when Black activists were telling you to take it off. Now, because the US is doing it, now you're gonna follow suit. You're confirming all of our suspicions, or rather everything that we knew. You're telling on yourself, and you knew what you were doing. You were degrading us on purpose. And so on one hand, it's like, okay, great. I'm always down for a revolution. But at the same time, y'all are shameless and brazen. And this is why I compel people to divest from the white power structure, period. We need our own autonomous things. We need our own everything. Like how Ashley, you did your own thing, and everybody on this panel, I feel everybody got their own thing going. We have to support one another, open our purses to each other. That's how you build community. That's how you build autonomy. That's how you build a freedom, a liberty, that we don't have to depend on these white people to do right by us, because they have never done right by us, and they will never do right by us. We can still demand it, of course. Again, I like multitasking, but I call for divesting from the white power structure, period. And we were talking about romantic relationships, divest from the male gaze, period, as well. Because everything that we're upholding has indeed degraded us, dehumanized us, and excluded us. I'm not asking for permission no more. It's over. Mm-hmm. That time is done.
Yeah. And we have to start really boycotting. Like back in the day, what was it, in the 60s, how they boycotted the bus stops, the bus for 380 days, yeah? 381 days. We don't do that now. Like, I might still go get in and out, maybe. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard, but we have to do it. If we really, really stick together, then look at, I mean, all this stuff like Paris, Germany, all filled with freaking just people of color in the street. Like, we can do this, but we have to do it together, and it's just a lot.
I really do want to just say thank you, because I am learning so much, because even coming in here, I realized that I had white privilege. I realized that. But now even in this conversation, I'm learning even more how much I have. And I want to apologize for not using my voice before. And just thank you. Thank you for this conversation and for letting me learn and just making me more passionate about moving forward to amplify voices. So thank you.
I don't want to call out Aurora, but you haven't spoken. Do you want to speak?
She.
Oh, I think you're still mute.
She's still a mute. You're still a mute, love.
Sorry.
There you go.
I am here. I am present. I am conscious of trying not to take up space, especially at the beginning, that I felt like some of my non-Black sisters were taking up space. So, but yeah, I mean, there's so much, I haven't said much, and I don't want to spend an hour now talking about everything I was thinking about. But I feel like, myself, when I started as a filmmaker, like, my background is in social activism, and I came into my identity as a filmmaker through my activism. And my activism, like my identity as a filmmaker, was fueled by this idea that I don't want to be a part of the structure that was built on, on white supremacy. Like there is no room for me there, and I don't want to be a part of that. And I created, and so what does that mean? What does that look like, right? Like, how do you do that? And me and some of my queer POC sisters who are hella radical were like, well, let's fucking do things ourselves. Like, let's center, in our case, because we were all indigenous identified and queer, we're like, we never see, that intersection. We never see working class POC people who are queer questioning or anything like that. Like, let's center our stories, let's center our truths, let's be smart about it. And not only in those stories, but how do we work together, right? Like, because the industry, the film industry in particular, the entertainment industry is so hierarchical, right? There's such a power structure that exists. And we as a collective were like, how do we work against that? How do we create something that feels different? And so we talked about like, how do we engage as creative people and create creatively without developing this hierarchical system, right? So we formed a collective and we started to work together as a collective, making collective creative decisions and business decisions, even though we didn't really have any money. And we started to put out work. And that's how we created a space, and that's how we ourselves started to disrupt the industry in that way, right? Like suddenly one of our films got into Sundance, the film festival. Now Sundance has been around for a while. We were the first US born Chicanas to go to that film festival in 2005. Wow. And that festival's been around since the 60s.
Shit.
Right?
Yeah,
and what happens is that, the directors are invited to go up to the front and talk to the audience. And we as a collective were like, we're not going to do that, because again, that's giving the directors this idea that it's their vision. There's a power structure here. They're the ones who did all the work, when we know that inherently art, filmmaking is collective, right? We have to honor all of the artists that are involved. So we would go up to the stage together to field the questions. And we got comments like, oh, they're a gang, like that we were a gang that showed up at Sundance and, insisted on certain things. And it was like, it wasn't surprising to us, because we were aware of what we were doing, that we would get this feedback, because the audiences and that institution historically has been very white, Sundance in particular. So anyways, so I felt hella good about that, and thinking about what my contribution is as an activist, and what spaces I'm in, and what intentionalities I have around the stories that I want to tell, the way that I'm working with people and trying to go against hierarchical thinking. And I say all that because that was all awesome. And then I get sucked into the TV world, which is the industry, right? And it was never anything that I imagined for myself. Again, very much like that. No, there's no space for me, even if they wanted me. And then, a Black sister, Ava DuVernay, reaches out to me. And she's like, I want you to come direct for this series. And I was like, what? Like, it blew me away. I did not expect that. And then suddenly, I do this with her, for her, in an incredible, very utopian-like experience, where everybody's hella conscious, the crew is hella POC, and I'm like, oh my God, that was amazing. And I came out of it, I was like, yes, this is awesome. I want to do this. And then I do another show, and it's completely different. It's the industry. You know what I mean? It's not what Ava's building. And I was like slapped in the face, remember, Aurora, remember, this is an industry. And so all that to say is when I brought this up to Ava, and I was like, yo, you really you set up a utopia, it's awesome, but that it's not really what exists, right? And she was like, yeah, that, right? But I'm helping you so you can create your vision, so you can go on and do what you want to do, right? And so I recognize here's a Black sister opening up that door for me, right? So what does that mean? I hold true to that vision that I've had for a long time since I was little, to, help our communities, because the stories that I tell and the efforts that I have are for our communities. I'm tired of trying to educate white people. That's not my audience. That's not where my energy goes. My energy goes to my family, my parents, my my grandparents, my cousins, my neighbors, like, you know, our communities. And so I recognize what Ava's done, and I see, I'm like, okay, there's different strategies to this, right? Like, I feel like the universe is showing me that there's different strategies. I belong to this industry now, or I don't even know if I can say I belong. I'm in it. I'm accessing, you know, I'm getting paid, and I'm storing away those bills, right? To be able to create something that I feel, again, challenges the industry, challenges what has been built, you know, wanting to lock arms with Ava and, you know, my Black sisters in our community and African-American sisters, and try to build something together, because that's really what I've been inspired by. Like, my consciousness and what I was exposed to was collective, and it was very much Black and brown sisters in particular. And so I've always been inspired by that. And I understand that there's so much work to be done in our Latinx community to continue that building, right? That building. And so, you know, yeah, I mean, I feel you, Dash. Like, I want to burn it down. I want to burn it down. And I want to build something completely different and completely new. And so I'm like, okay, do I like the match of what is paying me right now to potentially build something new? I get stuck. Like, I get like, you know, which route do I go? But what I keep coming back to is just, you know, the seeds of why I became an artist and a storyteller, the seeds of like, my family and my family's raíces in this world, and just staying true to that, and never losing sight of that. And what does that mean? Is constantly checking in with myself around those goals, constantly checking in about those visions that I have. I'm going to be in a position of power soon. Who am I going to staff? You know what I mean? Oh, hell yeah, I'm going to staff Conscious Sisters, you know? Like, oh, I can't wait to be there. I cannot wait. And, but these are the conversations, and me listening, like, I really take it to heart, and I think about these things, and I think about myself, and I think about the positions I'll be in. And I know I'm taking up a lot of space. I'm sorry.
No, good. No, talk.
I love this. Exactly.
No, but like, I don't want to, there's different ways in which we can support. And I want to say that to my non-Black sisters, particularly if you are in positions of celebrity or even making some money, like that does also support the money, right? Like Ava opened up doors for me. I've gone on to work. I have made money. When Black Lives Matter, like the uprisings happened recently, I couldn't go out in the streets because I have a mom who is a high risk COVID elder, right? So I was like, how do I participate? And I thought about the money that I've made, and I thought about who opened that door. And so I put on Twitter and Instagram, I was like, I recognize, you know, who has helped, who has seen me, my talents, my potential, open up these doors, and I've gotten paid. And now I'm going to put some of that money back into some organizations that are organizing on the ground. It's not a lot of money. I'm not swimming in it, but I'm trying to put out, like, let's be mindful and thoughtful. Let's think about like our responsibility. How can we contribute as we gain power in different ways, as actors, as writers, as, you know, filmmakers. Yeah, so again, it's just checking yourself, being mindful, being in conversation, listening, open heart, and yeah, that's all I can say right now.
Not a lot.
Thank you so much.
Will you be my mentor, Aurora? I appreciate you all are my mentors. Seriously, like on the real, you are, and I'm hella blessed by all the work that you've done and your ancestors have done for us. You know, so thank you.
Thank you for saying those kind and wonderful words that we're all just
thank you
up and just being right there. I know that I wanted to ask a few more questions with the opinions, but also that we probably have to wrap up soon. I'm going to ask one more, I'm assuming. We all sorts of emotions right now. The other opinion that is often found in our comment section, no matter how big or small your count is that not all cops are bad. Should we defund, abolish the police just because of a few bad seeds?
I feel, or I don't know if this is a question or not, I just feel like, because I have law enforcement in my family as well, and they're Black, one's Mexican, and I just feel like at this point, shouldn't they, if they're all the good cops, right, shouldn't they all come together? I don't know if they can all come together, boycott or whatever. I know it's their job, it's their family. Fucking, that's shit. That's a lot. But I just feel like, okay, post about it, put it on Instagram, like, hey, that's bad about George Floyd. I get it. Okay, we get it. But like, I just feel like, can all of them start a Facebook group or something where they can all come together from fucking Boston to fucking the South and just be like, hey, we're all good cops, and just, shit, I don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I don't know. I'm not speaker to that, but
I'm echoing that because I'm like, where are the good cops? Where they at?
Yeah.
I will.
Where they at?
This is the only thing I'm going to say. The history of the police in the United States was one of catching Black people who were enslaved. That was where it started. It started with slave catchers who their goal was to bring you back to the plantation if you escaped. Even in Jim Crow days, once there was emancipation, right, and you technically slavery was over, they had the Black codes and you had to have papers to travel, and it was a way to control the movement of Black people, their economic freedom, their family life, every aspect of the freedom that we talk about in America. And many of the police departments were infiltrated with Klan members, right? So the same people who were holding up the law supposedly to protect you were hanging you at night, right? And killing your family. And so until we understand that history, we will never understand the institutional racism that exists in police departments and why it is not enough to just be good on an individual level, but why we literally need to break it down to build it up.
Yeah, because we're talking about systems, not individual actions, because you have a laundry list of good cops that tried to be good, or tried to be ethical rather, because I don't believe in good or bad, but it tried to be ethical. And they were repressed, they were fired, they were targeted, they were killed, they were abused, they were silenced. And so it's not the responsibility, I mean, it is, right? Within yourself, you're responsible, but it's dismantling the system. And to echo what Natasha said, the slave catching patrol, that was in all of Latin America too. The police, they were developed to protect property, to protect white interests, to keep out Black people or indigenous people or the undesirables. All what we talk about policing and protection and enforcement, that was on us. That was on our bodies. We weren't the protected class, and we're still not the protected class. And so what exactly are we defending? What exactly are we upholding here? And so, defund all of them. Defund all of them, because if we're upholding this system that for so long has targeted us, we need to get rid of the whole thing. Because, Natasha is saying how you have the KKK infiltrators. It's KKK members that then decided to be cops. These are descendants of these are slave mongers who then decided to be cops. These are the same people who end up in law enforcement, in Congress, presidents, the people making the policy, making the laws. All of them are KKK. Where did they go? Right? They just assimilated into greater society, and they changed uniforms. And so, it's the culture. It's ingrained in the actual culture, and anti-Black policing that is, obviously in the US and all throughout the region, and it's global, because we see these videos coming out of Europe, out of Colombia, out of Brazil. It's the same exact white supremacist pathology in policing Black bodies, period.
Yes.
Our next comment, this is moving on forward, is why can't they just protest peacefully? Why interrupt the daily lives of others? Any takers once again?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nikki. You have the floor.
I fought a lot with that one, and the best explanation I could give was when everybody else has a problem, they speak about it, they are heard, they fight about it, they have people that look just like them that are championing on their behalf in these positions of power. But when it comes to us, there's nobody in a position of power that's willing to go and change anything for us. And we can speak until we're blue in the face and it doesn't work. So ultimately, what do you expect? Back then, when we needed stuff to happen, we protested. Okay, cool, we're protesting, you're not listening. Rioting. Whenever the rioting starts, when it starts to hurt their pockets or when it directly affects them, they're like, okay, well, let me listen. Okay. Oh, well, Black Lives Matter, yada, yada, yeah, it matters. Let me, post a little black square. But now that your dollars are affected because all these Black people don't want to buy your stuff no more, or they're realizing that you're saying Black Lives Matter, but you don't have anybody of color within any position of power and on any board or as any CEO, then it becomes a problem. So for me, I'm like, of course, I feel sad because there's been, Black small business owners that they've rioted and they've lost their business. Of course, I feel sad. That hurts because it's hard. It's hard to go into a bank knowing that you might not get that loan for your business because you're Black. It's hard. But at the end of the day, how else am I supposed to feel heard if this has been tried and true? Time and time and time again. You don't want us to do it, so do me a favor and listen. Do me a favor and listen. It didn't have to get this way. And by no means did it have to get this way. But we tried and we protested and we talked, and the same cycle has been happening over and over again. So just like you're going to keep killing us and policing us, we're going to keep rioting and it's going to keep going. And until you learn, then it will stop. Until then, don't say anything. Just shut up. That's how I feel.
It's always this notion that we have to ask for basic human rights, that we have to appease you before you acknowledge what everybody on this planet has been born with. I mean, I follow someone on Twitter and their username is fires work faster than voting. Because what we're looking at, because people say, oh, why don't you vote? With all this voter suppression, with all of them changing policy so that we can't vote, that's what you have your faith in? And so the thing is that my life trajectory has been deadly. So if you're inconvenienced for 10 minutes, for an hour, even for a year, to make room, to actually acknowledge basic human rights for people, you will deal. You will deal. And so
Seriously.
And can I just say that they make heroes of the revolutionaries who created America? Okay, you could burn it down when, we're talking about a Boston Tea Party and you're a patriot, but somehow you're not a patriot when you're fighting for the rights of, all people to actually live the American dream. So it's often subjective in the eye of the beholder, but protest is dissent. That's the point.
And Colin protested peacefully. He kneeled. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna throw my favorite quote of all time from Fannie Lou Hamer: "Nobody is free until we're all free," and I stand by that. If I have to make adjustments or whatever it is, if that's going to include your humanity, and we're talking about trans folks, we're talking about non-binary, everybody. If it doesn't include everybody, I don't want it. And the fact that people are like, "But," is very disturbing to me.
Colin kneeled peacefully, and they still fired him. There's a peaceful protest right there. Look what happened. Sometimes you got to make noise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Any more comments on this one? Aurora,
yeah,
there you go.
I mean, people are getting murdered. It's violent. It's ugly. Why do we need to protest peacefully? Like, people are fucking pissed and angry and want to, you know, make noise. Then it makes sense. Like, it's just a ridiculous question. Like, it just blows my mind that we even have to talk about that, you know? Like, I don't know.
It's like we're tired. Like, we are tired. Like, why do I have to riot to show you that I'm afraid to get pulled over by a cop? That I'm afraid. I don't even work out at nighttime with my garage open. Nope, I'm gonna sure sweat it out with the garage door closed because I'm scared. I'm scared. And then you tell people this, and now, you know, thank God people are coming to the realization. They're like, oh yeah, wow, you know, you know, that's crazy. Yes, it's so crazy, but you're not choosing to change anything. Mm-hmm. We're talking about defunding the police. Where are all the good cops? A lot of them are retiring and leaving. Why? Because when those good cops try to walk out, you know, this is the way the system is. This is the way it's gonna be. So it's like where else am I supposed to turn to for something to be changed? Mm-hmm. Your pockets, and that's the only, money is the only thing you can understand, because right now you're valuing money more than my life and my safety and me, just people, human beings. You're just valuing it more than human beings. So I apologize, not really, but if this is right's gonna make you wake up, then here you go, bang bang.
I mean, all I can think about is, you know, Frederick Douglass, when he said, we the people is we the people. Not we, the white people, not we, those who have the right to vote back, you know, at the time. Yeah. So until we the people means we the people, everybody, you know, we gotta, again, I feel like I've said this a lot. We gotta make people uncomfortable. Sorry, you know, like that's just kind of where we have to be. I think history has shown us that protest, you know, it's not pretty all the time, you know, it's not pretty, and sometimes you have to make some uncomfortable to actually get, you know, your point across.
Mm-hmm. But actually, violence is the language of the oppressor. Like Nicky was saying, they only understand money and violence. So I'm gonna speak your language. What's up?
Yeah, it's also that concept of matching each other's energy. And this, to me, I feel like is a manifestation of years of being oppressed. And, you know, that's why I champion so hard behind Afro-Latina beauty brands like Botanica Beauty, you know, Luna Magic, you know, Alemar Cosmetics, because these are Latinas and Afro-Latinas, and, you know, Mel Cosmetics as well. Like, there are so many Black and brown women who are dominating, you know, the beauty arena, yet they're still not given the platform needed at other, you know, publications. And it's so important that we champion behind each other's brands, you know, and that's why I always say I will buy my friends' products at full price. I never ask for a discount because I'm not asking Sephora for a discount. So why would I do that? And I think it's so important. And, you know, I grew up in a law enforcement family. However, I never tell them, like, I'm like, oh no, I'm not gonna have this conversation. I let them know when I get pulled over, I know that experience. And, you know, we're the good police. They're at home enjoying themselves. And I also believe in defunding the police, and I'm very vocal to my family, because guess what? There's so many other resources where we can pour into in our community, like mental health, health benefits, also school systems. So you're not gonna sit there and tell me that this particular system, which was literally bought to continuously enslave Black and brown brothers and sisters, that it's working, because it's not. There's so much history behind it. So it's always so important for me. And I don't care that I make my family uncomfortable. This is my blood. And it's so important for me to show up authentically, because my experiences is mine and theirs is theirs. But make no mistake, they will get to understand, you know, that I'm still going to show up unapologetically, because that's what I was born here. I'm literally a manifestation of my ancestors, and they did not fight blood, sweat, and tears for me to make protesting pretty. It just doesn't work that way.
Thank you very much for all those Beautiful answers. My gosh. I'm much like a lot of what we were saying before. I am learning a whole lot, and I'm just thankful. And moving on to the next one that's really difficult to say is the other comment that we get often is, I don't see color.
I ain't touching that.
Any takers on this one? We can easily. I think this says it all. My personal opinion. Maybe Nastasia might want to say something, but we can move on because the last one is also pretty. Yeah.
It's bullshit. If you want to answer, it's bullshit, and y'all are lying. Okay, y'all are lying.
Thank you.
There we go.
What do you mean? Like, it makes no sense. Like, anyone making that comment hasn't dealt with any sort of repression. Like, that's just people like who've always dealt with privilege. Like, I mean, my friends, I've never heard anyone say that, but I get those comments too, and I'm like, oh, you just feel bad, so you feel like you need to say something to make it seem like you're not racist, but like, what do you mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
And why do they always go to purple? Y'all notice that? Like, I don't care if you're black, white, or purple. Like, bitch, who is purple?
Not as
I feel like that one's interesting because I feel like whenever I hear it, and again, personally, like, what I think, I feel like sometimes I hear people say it with so much conviction because they feel like they're saying something that's positive, but there needs to, a lot of work needs to go into making people understand that when you say that you don't see color, you're erasing the pain and the struggle of people of color, it's just what comes to my mind. Again, every time I hear it, it comes from, sometimes you can tell they try, it comes from it doesn't come from a bad place a lot of the times, but we have to go ahead and address it. And
I feel like it comes from a white pathological place though, and I can't trust it because a little story, we do these workshops and one of the facilitators, well, we all facilitate. We've been doing it forever, right? And Evelyn, who is Guatemalteca Garifuna, said that one of her workshops that she did, they posed a question to the participants: at what age did you realize your race? And all the black people were like 3, 4, 5, 6, and the white people said 32 years old. And Evelyn was like looking around like, dispute this, refute this, like, with, she wasn't shocked, but she just couldn't understand how you can move through the world and not be racialized and made aware of your racialization. And that is what we're talking about when we talk about white pathology, when we talk about white supremacist ideals. You don't have to think about your race. And we've heard this among Latinos. I never had to think about my race in my country. Okay, I'm always black in Panama, in Cuba, in Colombia, in Puerto Rico, wherever I am. And so a lot of our communities don't have that luxury to not have to think about your race. That experience of everyone being mixed and how can we be racist, that's also bullshit. Because again, you cannot tell me, whatever country I go to, that I'm not gonna be referred to as a negra. You're not gonna sit there and say that to me. And so it's always anyone who is outside of that Eurocentric or European standard is getting othered. And they're the ones that have to be aware of it. They're the ones that have to be aware of how they're dressing, what time of day they're going, which areas they're going. My Cuban husband is a big black guy. He calls himself negro because society has racialized him as negro, and that's what it is. There's nothing else. He's negro, right? And he's completely fine with it. He celebrates it. Blackness is sufficient. It's more than enough. That's what it is. And it's indeed what roots him to his identity. And so I think this narrative, this mestizaje myth, this raza cósmica, which is a eugenicist wet dream, I have to mention. The raza cósmica was in fact saying that the degraded traits of indigenous and Africans were going to be lifted up by the European. And so we need also to stop parroting that. And la raza, what raza? What raza are you talking about? Because most of the people on this panel would have been gente sin razón. which were the non-acculturated Hispanics. That we were the non-white people, right? I mean, well, maybe some of y'all could pass, I don't know. But it was indeed this social hierarchy, this caste system that kept us Black people at the bottom. White people was the pinnacle. White was at the pinnacle and Black was at the bottom. We weren't even included in the hierarchy because we were the polar opposites. The mixed people were these different categories: sambo, mulatto, salta atrás, no sé qué, right? All of these different terminologies. And so when people say, I don't see color, you're a liar, number one. Number two, you have that privilege and luxury to not have to see it because it doesn't affect you. And in one of my workshops, we have a activity where I put different aspects of their identity. And one of it, was like ethnicity, nationality, able-bodiedness, et cetera, et cetera. There was one where it was race. And someone put not applicable, NA. And I was like, what? You think any Black person could put NA on that sticky note? Excuse me? So we have to be honest. We have to be honest. And we have to be honest with the people who are made and forced to be aware of their race and the people who don't have to be aware.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Definitely.
I could listen all day.
I'm coming to your workshop.
Yes, we're definitely going to advertise your workshop 100%. My God.
Because we have a Spanish language one and an English one. I'll put the Spanish language one in the chat too, if you're interested.
Perfect. Yes. We're so close to being done. We're definitely going to drop the last one, which is also a doozy. Goodness. Why can't I say white power if Black people say Black power all the time?
Who wrote that dumb shit? No, I'm just kidding.
You know what? I actually was posting on Facebook the other day. This was like maybe 10 days ago. And this is before I had even officially met you, Natasha, but I realized that it was your post that I reposted. And I had someone comment from a state that I used to live in Indiana. And they had said, why do you get to say Black power and I can't say white power? And
that's not how power works. Power goes one way. And these people are being willfully obtuse. Are you kidding me? Our whole society is based on white power. What more do you want? Like, damn.
It makes me think of like the one every time something happens that like they're like, oh, Black people this, Black people that, I always say like, damn, we can't have nothing. So like whatever, like you were like, oh, why can't we say white power if we say Black power? In my head, I'm like, damn, we can't have nothing. Like it's literally been white power this whole time. It's the whole time. The system is made for you. You have power. What do you mean?
It's like when white people ask, well, why can't I say the N-word? And it's like, why do you want to call me an N-word? Like, why do you want to call me that, knowing the history, right? And Black power is a reclaiming, right? There was a time when people didn't even say Black because they were taught that was a bad thing to say. And even in the Latin American context, there's still some, pejorative usage of the word negro or negra, right? So when we say Black power, it's reclaiming, it's saying that we are not ashamed. Or when people wore their hair in afros and you had that era of the Black Panthers, it was taking back, we're not Negro, we're not colored, we're Black, and we're okay with that. But again, like we said with the last question, if you operate in your privilege, you never have to know that history, which is American history, by the way, not Black history, quote unquote, that you celebrate in February. This is American history that people walk through the world and just don't understand. And knowing about white supremacy and how insidious it is and how destructive it has been, why do you want to buy into white power? White power prevents you from accessing your humanity, right? It prevents you from, connecting with others. I say, when we talk about diversity, you learn just as much from me being in the room, right? It's not about appearances and representation. You're literally denying yourself the pleasure of being around Black people by segregating so it's just, I have to laugh. It's another one that, it's hard for me to understand because I get it. But yeah, for those who don't get it, they need to learn.
But that's like people saying, oh, why can't we have a BET or white entertainment? I'm like, you do. It's called ABC, CNN, TNT, Discovery Channel, TLC, TNT,
Disney,
Disney, Netflix,
everything.
Everything else.
You know, I went to a pitch meeting once and was with a bunch of white execs, and they asked me, they said, well, you know, why is it that, you know, you always make stories with POCs at the forefront? Why can't you put a white person in front of your movie? And I said, I almost said bitch. I didn't say bitch. But y'all been doing that for decades already. Why do I have to change what I want to see just so you can be comfortable? Why do I have to adjust myself so you can be comfortable with the content that I'm writing, with the content that I'm producing? Why do you need to see that? You have it. Look, open up your fucking TV. It's right there. Why do I need to fix myself in order for you to feel comfortable? Why do I have to change what my company stands for in order for you to feel comfortable? Why is it that in order for you to buy my work, it has to have a white person at the front of it? I don't get it.
You get it, girl. You know why.
Ariana, was that the last comment?
That was the last comment.
Oh my goodness. Ladies.
I know, right? My goodness.
Wait, can I just say something about Jess, Ashley, and everybody who's working in TV? And because Jess made the comment earlier that, oh, that you're not doing anything. Yes, the fuck you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're my favorite character on that show, and I see you came on for number 1. And so that work is important. Like, please don't think that, oh, well, I just act. No, that is, you know, you have children that can look at the TV and be like, oh, that person looks like me. And that is, and I'm getting chills because it's a real thing. You know, we do this initiative with Afro-Latino Travel where we have people bring Black dolls and we distribute it to kids. And those kids go ape shit when they see the dolls that look like them. Because, you know, the little kids, when they look like dolls themselves, right? And they look at the dolls and, you know, like, I'm always like crying. Like, I'm just like, thugs don't cry, but I'm gonna cry right now because this is so beautiful. You know, you have these 60-year-old women that come up to us, like they be in the line. I'm like, Adriana, like, we gotta, and they're like, no, I've never had a Black doll. And, you know, and we it's important. It's important. Representation is important. And so I really needed to say that because everybody got their lanes, right? Everybody has their lanes and it's important and we can multitask. Again, I like multitasking. I'm a Virgo. Everybody got their lane and it's important. It matters.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much, ladies. I kidnapped you for 2.5. Well, Ariana and I kidnapped you for 2.5 hours.
Thank you so much for your time, your effort, you know, this was very last minute, but we really wanted to make sure that we bring all of you in just to, I don't know, I'm without words, but you get the point, you know what I mean? These are the tough subjects too that we really want to talk about, and we need to talk about them, and so we're very happy to have you, and I'm gonna cry now, so off to you, Nastasia.
Well, I was just gonna say, yeah, this was very last minute, but, and I apologize for that because I know I was just trying to get everybody's schedules, emails are going in and out, but I felt like this conversation absolutely needed to happen, and I feel like I really wanted to have this conversation with women because I find us to be so incredibly awesome, and I can't imagine having this conversation with anybody else. So thank you so much, every single one of you, for joining. Your contributions, your voice, your everything was really important. So thank you, thank you. Oh, Lord Jesus. Okay.
Ongoing work, girl. It's ongoing. It's a journey. It's a journey. It's not a destination. It's a journey.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We'll hear this conversation, you know. So this is our gift, right? The conversation we had will go beyond us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yes. Thank you. All right, perfect. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you guys for like chatting.
Like, don't be acting brand new when I email you. Like, what I'm like, oh, who are you? No.
I want to be friends with all of you guys.
I'm glad to share this space with you, ladies.
Girl,
thank
you. Of course.
Everybody, good luck.
Let's all be friends.
Thank you,
Have a great
everybody.
day.
Thank you, ladies.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Ciao,
Stay
you
safe.
too.